What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Today's video, we're going to be showing you how to install this Lowrance Hook2 4X fish finder on my John boat. So like always, we're out here on our Sun Dolphin American 12-foot John boat, and I needed a fish finder for this thing. That way I can tell the water temperature, the water depth, and we can read that structure on the bottom to see what we're actually fishing around. So come along with me. I'm going to show you how to install this. We are doing a trolling motor mount on this, and I think it's going to be really useful for my application because I have the trolling motor on the front of the boat. We're actually going to be able to put that sonar a little bit further out in front of the boat. That way we can see what we're going to be fishing in instead of that sonar being mounted on the back of the boat. You can mount this on the transom, and I'm going to show you kind of how that would work as well. But like I said, we're going to be diving into how to install this on a trolling motor, and we're going to show you how to wire it up. So please stay tuned. If you like this kind of stuff, please stick around, hit that like button, also subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell, and let's get going with this video. Okay, it's really sunny out right now. I'm going to try not to get in the way too much, but to actually do a trolling motor mount for this thing, you're going to need to buy a dryer hose clamp. This goes on your dryer exhaust hose to clamp it shut over either the dryer end or the exhaust end. But this right here fits perfect on your trolling motor as far as the diameter goes of that actual motor housing right here. So what I've done to this to kind of modify it so it doesn't slip is I've went ahead and took some duct tape and actually lined the inside here. And that is going to make sure that it doesn't slip when it's actually tightened down. Okay, we don't want that transducer actually swiveling around on that motor housing. What we're going to do is, for me, since I run the trolling motor off the bow of the boat here, it's going to be very easy to hook this up because I run an extension cable to my battery ran in the rear. And down here, I actually have a circuit breaker that I'm going to show you how to mount to the side here and actually wire all of these transducer wires and everything to that to actually power it up. But we're going to start out by mounting the transducer to the front of the trolling motor first. Just going to pull this out enough to where we have enough clearance. Undo the little ties here. Okay, I do have a bunch of zip ties too, so we can secure that cable up to the actual trolling motor shaft to get it out of the way. But I'm just going to mount this little transducer right on the bottom here, and we want the cone part facing forward. So this is going to be going through the water like a bullet, right? So this is the tip right here facing forward. This is also going to be like the tip facing forward, and we're going to mount it right under here. Okay, so I'm going to try to mount it just about in this area right here. That way it's not going to be too close to the actual prop here, and it's not going to be too close to what they call the fin up here. Everybody refers to it as. But we're going to mount it about right here. Just take your hose clamp here. Make sure that wire doesn't get pinched down in there. All right, let me get my drill. We're going to tighten that up. I'm going to make sure it's centered with that fin to make sure it's right in the middle. Tighten that down as snug as I possibly can. I don't want to break the plastic down here. Okay, so now that we have the band in place and it's very secure, like I said, put that duct tape around the lining of this, and that's going to make sure it's not going to slide anywhere. And this is also in line with the fin. That way it's perfectly on the center. Now all we have to do is take this cable and make sure we're going to secure it up, but making sure it's not going to get impeded with any of this, or that this gets in the way. So we still need to be able to slide this. So I'm going to connect it right here with a zip tie, and also above this little limiter right here that limits how far down this actually goes. Okay, so we have it zip tied here. That's nice and tight. That's not going to get hung up on anything. I left this just loose enough. That way it's going to be able to slide up and down the trolling motor shaft still. And then I zip tied it up here along with the trolling motor battery cable here. And then I'm going to run it the length of my battery cable. And then I'm going to connect it to my circuit breaker down here. I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, so here's my circuit breaker. And we're going to have to get this wired into it. So I'm going to run this the same distance. Okay, and then the rest of it right here, because this comes with, I would say probably about 10 feet of cable. We're just going to ball this up nice and neat and actually take a zip tie around it to hold all this excess in place. So keep in mind, this plug right here that actually goes to the unit is probably about 4 feet from the actual end that goes to the battery. So this excess I'm going to have pretty much tied up under my trolling motor mount up front. That way it's going to be nice and close to that unit. So we have that all zip tied up. Okay, like I said, that's going to be going right under here. I'm going to secure it up somehow. That way it's not out in the way and causing an issue. The next thing we're going to do is mount the actual mount to the boat here. So what you want to do is actually go ahead and mark the spot that you want with a pen or a Sharpie or something. You can tell I already have the dots laid out here for how I want this actually mounted. And I'm mounting it somewhere that's not going to be in the way. So over there I have the anchor cleat, and also I fish mainly off of that side of the boat. So over here is going to be the prime spot to actually have this fish finder. So we're going to go ahead and drill out our little holes here. And then we're going to use the hardware that they provide, the screws and stuff, to actually mount this to the boat. And no, I'm not going to use any kind of well nuts or any type of rivets to put this in. I'm just going to use what they gave me. There is no stress going to be put on this mount or anything. So I feel pretty confident that just screwing these into the hole is going to be just fine. And I do have silicone at the house. I forgot to bring it out, but I will go back in and actually apply silicone around these holes. That way it'll ensure that no water gets down in the hull of the boat if it were to rain or anything. I do keep this in the garage, so I'm not worried about it raining when it's being stored. It's just mainly when I'm out actually fishing. So it does come with hardware. Please watch my video on the unboxing of this and the test. This is just merely the install portion, but it comes with the hardware here. That way we can mount the base. And this comes with the hardware to actually transom mount this thing as well. All right, so that's all the hardware it comes with. This one. And this one. That way they're a little offset. So one thing you want to do before you actually screw this down is take your plug and actually run it underneath the unit here, because it does have a little spot. That way the wires can go out the back. And also that's going to keep your wires nice and tucked in so they're not just dangling everywhere. So I'm going to give myself enough slack right there to where we can do that. Okay, then you can put the hardware in. And like I said, if I had my silicone, I would have went ahead and actually applied that silicone around those screws. But that right there is actually really sturdy. Dang, those two screws might be the only ones I need to put in here. I don't like to add a lot of different holes into the hull of the boat, just because, you know, the more holes you have there, the more likelihood of getting water inside your actual hole is going to be. That right there is actually really snug. All right, let's check the fitment of the unit here. Like I said, you push that tab down, squeeze those in. All right, and it locks in when you put that back up. All right, seat that plug all the way in the back of the unit there. All right, that looks pretty good. That looks actually really, really good. All right, let's get the wiring hooked up, finish that, and then I'll show you some other stuff with it. Okay, I went ahead and took a zip tie and got the wiring all zip tied up under here. That way it's out of the way. And then now all we have to do is worry about securing this wire to the actual circuit breaker and getting it ran to the battery. So that's what we're gonna do next. Dang, the unit's looking good though. That's in a good place. I'm curious to see how it actually works. All right, so we're gonna do it from this angle. I'm actually gonna get the trolling motor out of the way just a little bit more for viewing purposes. And my phone is overheating a little bit, so bear with me here. I'm moving it out of the sun a little bit, and hopefully it gets rid of the shadow just a little bit. And we're gonna get this hooked up to the circuit breaker. And guys, you might run this without a circuit breaker. That's okay too. But I use my circuit breaker as pretty much a meetup point for my trolling motor cable and going to the battery in the very back of the boat here. So right now I do have everything off. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this one down. We're not gonna actually do anything with the hod on this one. But what you wanna do after you get all of this wired up is I just take regular electrical tape and wrap all these terminals and everything. That way I don't run into the risk of actually getting electrocuted at some point. And then I also mount this right here. I always leave one screw right here and I just mount that up. And that keeps it off the bottom of the boat and out of the water if I were to get water in here. All right, let's get this thing wired up. So just for this example, I don't have any of the little wire connectors right there. So I'm gonna skip out on this, and where I have a circuit breaker and everything, that's gonna protect the unit as well. But if you were running this straight to a battery, I would definitely suggest using this fuse right here. And I'm probably gonna put it in at some point, but just not right now during this review. But what you're gonna wanna do is take your positive and connect it to the positive. And I'm just running this under. And guys, you can get really fancy with your connections and everything. Put some nice little connection points and everything on these. I am literally just doing this a very simple way. I'm just gonna pinch this under the little connection that's there right now. All right, so I just get that pinch down under that little nut right there. And I know it might not be the correct way to do it, but that's how we're doing it right now. Like I said, you could get fancy with this. Guys, we're just keeping it blue collar with what we got. Okay, then it comes to the negative. We're going to take, so I have this extender cable that runs to the battery in the rear. I'm actually just gonna pinch it right here between all of these little fittings. All right, then I'm gonna take my 2 wrenches. Make sure this fitting is tight. It's not gonna come loose. All right, so I'm gonna turn my power on the circuit breaker. Okay, and we do have power to the unit, so that tells me it's all wired up halfway decent. And then, like I said, you want to cover these with black electrical tape. That way these don't touch or anything like that, because they will spark if you actually touch these off each other. Okay, we have our black electrical tape here. We're gonna go ahead and wrap these fittings. And you can get all kinds of fancy shrink wrap, all of that. Make this look really nice if you wanted to. But we're not getting too fancy with it. All right, that's the negative side. We're gonna wrap the positive here. So what we're gonna do now is actually just secure this back to where I always secure this circuit breaker. I'm just gonna take the screw out, put the screw back in, make sure you're not pinching any of the wires. All right, then we have our circuit breaker back on the side here. Okay, I'm just taking some extra black electrical tape here, securing up some of these extra wires that are just kind of around, cleaning things up just a little bit. We're not going to get them all out of the way, but kind of better than what it is. So if you wanted to mount this on the transom of your boat, this is the back of the boat here, they do provide this little fitting right here, or this little mount to where you can actually mount that wherever you want to. And it has a little fitting that actually goes in the middle here. That way you can have that bullet transducer down in the water. And definitely check out Lowrance's website. They actually break down the correct way and the wrong way to actually mount your transducer on the transom of your boat. But essentially, wherever that transducer is sitting, it's going to read the water level below that. So if your transducer is mounted right here, and when this boat is in the water level's up here, so that's like 6 or 8 inches below the water level, that is what it's going to read, is from the point below that transducer. Okay, so it's not going to give you as accurate of a reading. When it comes to the mount that we have up here, it's going to be the same way. So I run this trolling motor probably about, I would say, foot under the surface of the water. So that transducer is going to be sitting that far under the water column. All right, so we're going to have to take that in consideration when we actually are reading our water depth level. So just FYI there, it's pretty neat. It does give you the flexibility to mount this different ways, so that is good. Please check out my review video on this Lowrance unit, and we're going to break down exactly what we're talking about when it comes to actually viewing it and actually using this unit. Okay, there we have it, folks. It is mounted up nice and secure. And yeah, there is a little bit more wiring exposed than I would like, but we can always clean that up in the future. And if you get really crafty with it, you could probably make an opening up here and run the wire inside the hull of the boat and come out. But I just don't have time to do that. This is going to get the job done. This is going to work. We have our circuit breaker hooked up right there, ran all the way to the back where the battery is. We have our wires kind of up here hidden out of the way as best as we can. All right, we turn the circuit breaker on, see if this turns on. There it is. And you can tell it does work in the sun. All right, and we are fish finding. Actually, this is just in simulator mode. Or we'd have some fish under us right now. Because I'm very pleased with how this install turned out. I think it's gonna look really nice sitting right there. And this is gonna allow us the ability to actually read the bottom of the water and actually see what kind of structure we're fishing around. Also, it has the depth listed right here as well as the water temperature. So very nice little feature right there. And guys, if you like this install or videos like this, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. That way you can see more videos just like this. We have a lot of videos based around this Sun Dolphin and different builds that we've been doing with this boat, as well as I have a fishing series where I just exclusively fish off of the Sun Dolphin. And please check that out too. We do a lot of videos like that. Also, we're heading into hunting season, so we're gonna be doing videos based around hunting as well. So please turn on the notification bell. Thanks for watching this video, and keep it blue collar.